rap, I guess, music. It's all in the mix, okay? If you can rap, you can be a poet. That's what I say. So I am chatting here with Tasso and Hill, who are part of the Poetry Festival. Hill, you actually head up Fluent in Both, I understand. And we've been actually talking about this idea of like how you get into poetry and how poetry can be a vehicle, especially if you speak in different languages, for example, to communicate, express yourself. And during that little song break, we were actually talking about how you developed your writing style. Tell us a bit more about that. How do you go from, okay, this is how I feel, I need to get it out, and for some weird reason it rhymes and makes sense and is really artistic and beautiful and poetic?
Yeah, I mean, for the long time, I didn't even know anything about poetry. I mean, you have to understand, I came to England when I was 13. I didn't speak the language at all. So I just wrote. And then as I started to develop my English skills, I started to write in English. And it was my English teacher that said, "Oh, right, this is poetry." And I was like, "What is that?" Like, and then, so she kind of pushed me into that. But I think it wasn't until I joined the Mouthy Poets, which was a collective of poets, really popular here in the city with Debris.
I was going to say, I've heard of them.
Yeah. So, a lot of people know about them. Had Debris, Anne Holloway, Bridie, Ione Smallhorn, just a lot of great poets here in the city. And with that help, I was able to develop my skills and become confident enough to step on stage and actually perform. So that's kind of how it goes.
So I suppose, and Tasso, you'd be a great one to chime in on this one, right? Okay, Let me give you an example. Maybe if you're listening at home and you're like, you know what, this poetry stuff sounds interesting because I like to express myself. So, for example, I've always been the kind of person that would jot thoughts and ideas all the time. And it wasn't until recently that, like, your teacher noticed, you're like, oh my gosh, no, these are poems. You're like, oh, this is actually, oh, okay. But what is it that makes someone, like, from just, like, writer or a journaler to actually, like, a poet?
That's a good one because I feel like everyone's a poet. And this is it's a little cliche, but at the same time, I feel like everyone has a story. Everyone can speak it. And even if you're not literate, I feel like poetry at its core is just rhythm and expression. There is something in you that you can express. And I feel like at some core level, when we write those things down, and for me, art has to have intention behind it. That's what kind of makes it art. And so when you write something that's just gibberish or it just comes from language learning model, that might not necessarily be. But if you have some intention and a story behind something and you try to drive it home through language and rhythm and somehow it connects, even if it's just to you, then you're a poet.
Yeah, I mean, it's like painting. Anybody can throw a kind of paint into it.
I'm going to stop you right there. I don't really go with this, but I am not the guy. Everybody can read my
But you are artists look at how you're running this conversation, doing a great job with the questions. Exactly. This is an art as well. This is poetry, Ethel.
Sorry, I stopped you. We're all painters, apparently.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, everyone can throw a kind of paint into a canvases, but not everybody can become Picasso. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the difference that it makes when you become a poet and you're just writing lines on the paper. I think that's the separation for me. I think that poetry is honesty expressed through language. I think that's the way I would express how when I write is my truth. Is I want you to feel my emotions. I want you to be there where I am when you are reading my poetry. And I think for me, that's poem. If I feel it, and if I can shed a tear, or if I can shed joy, if I can fall in love after reading your material, then that's poetry for me because it captivated me.
I love that. And while we're on that, actually, I suppose that's the whole point of the Nottingham Poetry Festival. It's like I say, the celebration of poetry. So tell us a bit more. What can we expect from Fluent in Both? What can we see at the Poetry Festival from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a crazy lineup. I mean, we have 2 live performers. One directly from Barcelona, Jeannie Demore. Shout out to her because she's amazing. We also have directly from Angola as well, live from Angola, Famous Gang. We have Zera, which I am so excited to see her sing. She's a flipping amazing. We have our own Rebecca Summer Scales. We have Ingrid McLaren. Oh,
She's been on. We've spoken with her here.
Oh man, she's amazing. Her voice, her calming attitude is just great. We have Noemi Jasmine, which she's part of the Fluent in Both team. She also helps with the setup and everything, also performing as well. Obviously, we have the great Tasha Runa.
Not yet. I'm so excited, man. You are hyping me up, man. I'm like,
I can't wait.
Y'all got to come out on Friday, man. Y'all better be there.
I have to ask, what was it about Tosa that you were like, I want this guy in my lineup?
No, you see, I've been following Tosa before I started Fluent in Both, and what I really like is the way, like, just how I said, I have to feel. And every single one of his poetry is very abstract, I think. I don't know if he does that on purpose, but I feel like it's abstract, but also direct, which is a weird way to put it. But people that see his stuff will understand that. And, I just felt a lot of the emotions that he was putting on paper. And, I really, if I ever do anything, I actually wanted to get you to one of our live shows on Instagram, but
oh man, we can still get it to happen.
Yeah, we have to sort something out.
Absolutely,
it's
a networking event now. Yeah.
Like a little circle of hype.
Oh man, that's love. Thank you so much.
How are you feeling about it, Tosa? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm so looking forward to it. Really, for me, it's just been a journey. Like as I said, poetry is just a way for me to express what I'm feeling, and so. As you said, some of my stuff could be a little more cryptic, but it's like not necessarily to be. It's almost like I can't remember who said it. It was like some famous guy that politicians use truth to tell lies and artists use lies to tell the truth, and it's something to that effect where it's not gonna be in your face, but if you know type of thing.
I think that in your poetry, you challenge the reader, and I kind of like that, It's like, there's a thing in there.
It's a bit of introspection too. I'm challenging myself. I know that sometimes can come off as combative too, because I come from some of my poetry is more hip hop in effect. Yeah. And so that hip hop culture is a lot more bombastic, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that can kind of come into it, but it comes from a place of trying to excavate whatever is inside me and battle with those demons, and usually that comes out as some sort of, all right, this is what I'm feeling now, and this is how y'all going. This is how we're going to talk about it.
Well, if you want to be, what were the words that you used? If you want to be introspective, if you want to be challenged, make sure you go check out Fluent in Both at the Nottingham Poetry Festival. Time and place, Hill?
So it will be at my aunt's cafe, Portuguese restaurant here in Nottingham. Boa Vista is in Hyson Green. Great place, great food, nice cakes, best coffee in town. Come over.
Oh yeah, 7:30. Yeah,
it'll be at 7:30. Yeah.
Yes,
fabulous. And there you have it. Hill and Tosa telling us all about what they're going to be getting up to at Nottingham Poetry Festival. Thanks for joining me, guys.